Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. We are presented by The Athletic. Today on the show, Adam Spinella is in the building. Spins has done a fantastic job here of creating a very fun, interactive experience for our listeners, where Adam and I are going to go back and forth doing a 2024 expansion draft. Eventually, the league is going to expand in some way, shape, or form. I think I feel pretty confident saying that. We don't necessarily know under what the teams will be. We have a good idea. It feels like what the circumstances of it'll be, the timeline, anything like that. But we wanted to do a fun hypothetical episode, given that it's the off season, middle of August. There's not much going on after Jim Harden now is no longer even being eligible to be traded by the Sixers. It feels like we are just going to have fun with this. We're going to have a good time. And Adam has done all of the legwork in creating an absolutely beautiful spreadsheet for us to work off of. Adam, what's going on, man?
Hey, Sam. It is great to be here this evening. I have transformed. I'm in War Room Adam mode now. So we've got the suit on, going no tie because this is West Coast drafting that I'm doing here tonight. So no tie on my end, but this is going to be super fun. And it's it's a not just a fun theoretical to do, but for me, Sam, it's actually a project that's been years in the making. I actually wrote my grad school dissertation on NBA expansion and the business aspect behind it, what it will look like when it happens. So this is something that's been near and dear to my heart for a long period of time. And to actually play general manager tonight and pick teams, going to be super fun.
Okay. So we just need to dive into this because I feel like there's a lot of setup here in addition to a lot of this. And I want to shout out Alex Spears and the Down to Dunk guys at the top here. They did this a week ago or so.
Yeah.
And we kind of set this up a week ago that we had the plan to do this. And then I think I saw that Simmons did one, and I've seen a couple other people I feel like have done one. I haven't listened to any of those other than I listened to the first part of Alex's. It seemed like they did a really good job of setting the ground rules and everything. Adam has gone above and beyond here in terms of setting the ground rules. So with all of that said, the ground rules will begin now. We've created two teams. The Seattle Supersonics, obvious. I can't imagine that the NBA comes back without going to Seattle, given how much that community continues to grow in terms of basketball love and never really left, to be honest. The second is the Las Vegas team. I tried to fight Adam for the Las Vegas Deuces, not only for poop humor, but also because the WNBA team is the Aces. And I thought it'd be funny, Aces and Deuces. But he went with the flush, and I think that's probably a better choice here. I would imagine that there will be no card puns based off of when this team actually comes in. But Adam, I appreciate the going above and beyond.
Yeah, we were looking for the dad joke with something to do with slam dunks and the flush, and it made sense to me at the time. So glad we're here in Las Vegas and bringing a franchise to this wonderful city.
And we back brings up a good point. If King James owns the Vegas team, we call that a royal flush. The Las Vegas Royal Flush is pretty funny. The Las Vegas Royals would be pretty funny. Yeah. We will see what they end up deciding to do. Okay, the next piece of this are the rules. And as you can see here, Adam has built out an incredible spreadsheet of what we're going to do here. But we're going to start with the rules. And I want to let you go, Adam, here because you have created all of these ground rules based off of what happened the last time there was an expansion draft in the NBA.
Right, and I want to shout out Al again for all the great work that he did on the Down to Dunk Pond and kind of setting this up a little bit. But if we're going to do this right, we've got to hop into our time machine and move forward a few months because the timing is really important for kind of setting up which players are going to be available, which is the entire point of the exercise, right? Evaluating players, trying to figure out who we would want and try to include in a franchise that we are starting from scratch. The way this always works is it happens between the end of the season and before the draft. So we have to transport ourselves to June 21st of next year. We are going to have 2 expansion teams that are coming in here. And at this point in time, it's really important to do this before free agency begins, because we want to have, as expansion teams, the ability to sign new players and not just take them on the current contracts that they exist upon. And it's really important to protect those teams that are currently in the NBA from just getting all of their good players on current contracts poached, to have some recourse to make up for that through free agency. So the timing of this exercise is important. And as a result, we are going to be looking at players and teams for what their roster is anticipated today to look like in June of this coming year. So a lot can and will change via trade, via some guys getting cut before camp starts. But at this point in time, this is the best kind of approximation of what those rosters will look like.
And to be clear on that front, teams would undeniably make trades ahead of the expansion draft in order to account for all of these rules. So this is not exactly what it would look like, but it's a hypothetical mock exercise. So we're going to have fun with it anyway.
It's the closest we can get to it. And there are salary cap rules and restrictions for teams that come into the league to prevent us from just poaching every free agent and having, $130 million to play with in the coming summer. We have to ramp ourselves up to that. So Sam and I are going to be drafting with a salary cap allotment that is right around $90 million as our max to be able to add, both through this exercise and through free agency. But the players and the way that they are going to be eligible is really important to try to figure out through all of this. So first off, all 2024 first round picks are obviously not taken yet, and we can't poach those picks or selections from other teams. Every NBA team protects 8 that are currently on their roster or that are going to be restricted free agents. And that's a really key piece to this, is being able to protect guys to retain their bird rights and their restricted free agent designation. So,
and that is the way that the last one worked as well.
Yes.
8 players.
Yep. 8 players is what this was, 2004, I believe, with the Charlotte Bobcats when they were coming into existence. So it's been about 20 years now, but protect 8 players on your roster. Everybody else who is either under contract or a restricted free agent is therefore in this potential selection pool for the expansion teams to choose from. The exception to that are players who have a player option. And the reason behind not including them in the pool is that it's really out of fairness to those players to decide whether they want to become free agents or exercise this option to return is going to depend drastically on what team they play for and the circumstances of the roster that they would find themselves in. So
did that happen last time, Adam?
I believe it did. And it serves a really important purpose to have it that way, because what good would it be for us, Sam, to take a player with this thinking he's going to have the contract and then he just opts out and becomes a free agent afterwards?
So my theory on all of how this would work, and this goes toward what I'm going to say at the end here, and this goes probably more toward the NHL expansion drafts that we've seen in recent years, since the most recent NBA expansion draft. The player options, most of the time, the players that are made available in these kind of drafts, the league allows the expansion team to talk to them ahead of time and understand what their plan is moving forward. And my guess is that agencies won't want to fuck these teams, right? Sure. In terms of that. Given that it happened last time, I think we just leave it 100%. Sure. It's just totally good. I will say, there are potential benefits to players here. You say you are a guy that is a player option and you're Gary Trent this past off season, right? Mm-hmm. And you have player option for 18 million. Maybe this new organization is a little bit more willing to give you an extension than a team like, say, the Toronto Raptors is, right? So I wonder if they would change that. for this time, where with an idea of you could protect players with a player option if you want to, or you could not protect them if you don't want to. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they handle that. Regardless, we are not including them here.
Correct. And the interesting part of restricted free agents, guys who are actually not signed to a contract but are eligible to be selected in the expansion draft, is that those players become unrestricted free agents if we were to take them. But we retain their bird rights in the process. So essentially all that we are doing is acquiring their bird rights to be able to sometime this summer sign them above the cap if we need to. Well, also
so the way that I want to handle those guys in this thing is that we have to come to an agreed upon contract before taking them. If you're going to take a restricted free agent, you have to come to a number that makes sense, basically.
Okay. A last minute curveball from Mr. Vecenie. We can adjust in our war room. I'll get on the phone in moments and prepare our salary cap gurus. But
because I think the way it would work is that they would have access to these players and these agents, and they would not take the restricted free agent unless they came to an agreement on the money ahead of time, or came to an agreement with the team saying, if you take this guy, we will give you this pick or something like that. We will give you this player.
Sure. There is going to be room for, I don't want to call it backroom negotiation necessarily, but that's kind of what it is to try to circumvent that process to make sure that no player or team ends up getting the short end of the stick through this expansion draft.
Yep. Okay. Next up.
I think that the last couple things here we can really breeze through. Like, every team had to designate at least one player for the expansion draft. So even if they didn't have 8 under contract, you could only you have to include one guy. Up here, we're only going to go 12 picks deep on each side. But why that is important is once one team, let's say the Oklahoma City Thunder, for example, get a player poached from their roster, then they will no longer have anyone else eligible in this expansion draft pool. So if Sam, who has the first pick, takes a member of the Thunder, he can get no future players from the Thunder in this, and I cannot draft anybody from the Thunder. Each NBA team loses a maximum of one player through the expansion draft.
And the way that we will track that is I will strike through all of the players upon their losing eligibility to be selected in this thing.
So anybody following along on the spreadsheet or here on YouTube will be able to see exactly which teams are and are not. And then if you go to the draft results tab, I will be updating that, where you can not only see which players are on each roster, but also how much cap space figures to be remaining based on the contracts that have been absorbed.
Yep. And that's where we're at on this. Okay. Any other rules here that we need to dive into? I do not think so. I think we're in a pretty clear spot. The last thing I want to note, and that I told Adam about before we started here, again, the way that this has worked in the NHL recently is that teams have essentially convinced other teams to convince the expansion teams to take certain players, right? So in the case of the New York Knicks, right? If the New York Knicks, the New York Knicks have a team option on Yvonne Fournier, let's say he was completely locked into that deal, right? Or Ben Simmons, let's say Ben Simmons. He's actually probably the best example on the board here.
Sure.
Ben Simmons, if the Nets want to be players in free agency for whatever reason, they could try and convince the Flush or the Sonics to take Ben Simmons by saying that we will give you X number of picks to do this. So for $40 million, we will give you Ben Simmons, and we will give you 2 additional first-round picks or something like that to take Ben Simmons. And the way that we will negotiate that is we'll essentially make it like a trade negotiation where
Sure.
I will ask Adam or Adam will ask me, okay, I need you to step into the shoes of being the Brooklyn Nets GM for a minute. If I was to, what would you need for me to, what would you need to give up, or what would I need back to take Ben Simmons here? Essentially, is our plan.
Yep. That'll be fun. And as we've already gone through this process, if you are following along on the spreadsheet and you hover over the team names, you'll see which players have been protected. And that was something Sam and I went over off air and kind of tried to organize as best we can. I think we struck a balance between most teams wanting to protect not only their best players, but a combination of, giving younger guys another year or so to continue to develop, and knowing based on their competitive situations which teams would want to operate kind of over the cap or not lose certain contracts. Like, it's very easy to sit here and say, should Minnesota put Rudy Gobert's big giant contract on this? Well, no, because if they end up losing that, they lose a huge chunk of ability to kind of replace that with similar value because of how far over the cap they're already operating. So there are a number of examples that Sam and I already worked through. I'm sure there will be disagreements that some viewers or listeners have over who should or should not have been protected in different regards. But this is kind of where we ended up going.
A very good question from AC here in the YouTube comments. You're missing Gary Payton II. For the Warriors, that would mean somebody else should be eligible, right?
Yeah, let me double check that real quickly here.
Because he has a player option. So they would have to keep him, right?
Well, we had said we're not including player options. Because they're treated
like unrestricted free agents. Okay.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Player options are treated like unrestricted free agents, so therefore we did not include them. That could change or not be the case when we see expansion actually happen. For the sake of the exercise, if he has a player option, he was not included.
Okay. I am up first here.
You are.
And I'm going to ask you to put on the Brooklyn Nets hat, general manager. How enticed are you to get off of Ben Simmons here if you are Brooklyn for $40 million?
All right. I've got to go to the cap sheets here then. So 24-25, he's listed at $40.3 million.
You'd be at 76 essentially in your active cap that you have for next year. So you open up potentially, you're closing in on 2 max cap spots. You could very easily open 2 max cap spots.
I'm pretty enticed. That means a lot to me because I like the depth pieces I already have if I'm Sean Marks. And I think I've got enough there where if I can acquire stars via free agency, I'd be really happy with doing that. What does the free agent market look like here during the summer of 2024, though, Sam?
The summer of 2024 free agency market, not loaded. Siakam is currently a potential option. Klay Thompson, Jim Harden, Gordon Hayward, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Mike Conley, D'Angelo Russell, Markelle Fultz. I'm trying to see some of the other more interesting guys. Tobias Harris. Middleton has a player option. Let's see here. Tyus Jones will hit free agency. I'm looking for the restricted guys now. Pat Williams will hit free agency. Okoro Okongwu, the whole 2020 class basically will be restricted. Any of those guys kind of ring a bell for you?
So I hear a lot of older veterans, right?
Yeah, but you could also use the space to trade in a guy.
We could, but would we need that draft capital in order to accomplish that trade? The ones that we would be using in a Ben Simmons deal. So I don't think I would give up more than a top 10 protected first and maybe be convinced to sprinkle in a couple of seconds.
Okay. Then I will pass on that.
Okay.
I will pass on Ben. Before we really get into this, should we read off who you've kept for each team?
We can probably
the podcast is an audio medium. I can probably zoom through this pretty quick.
All right, go for it.
The Celtics kept Tatum, Jalen, Porzingis, Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Al Horford, Rob Williams, Jordan Walsh. The Nets kept Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Spencer Dinwiddie, Noah Clowney, Dariq Whitehead, Day'Ron Sharpe, Cam Thomas, Jalen Wilson. The Knicks kept Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Dante DiVincenzo, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, Josh Hart. The 76ers kept Ajolas Tubelis. The 76ers kept Embiid, PJ Tucker, Tyrese Maxey, Paul Reed, Jaden Springer, Petrushev, Terquavion Smith, Ricky Council. The Raptors kept Jakob Poeltl, Scotty Barnes, Chris Boucher, Dennis Schroeder, Grady Dick, Jalen McDaniels, Christian Coloco, Precious Achua. The Wizards kept Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Daniel Gafford, Bilal Coulibaly, Denny Avdia, Corey Kispert, Johnny Davis, Ryan Rollins. The Magic kept Paulo, Franz, Wendell Carter, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black, Cole Anthony, Jet Howard, Caleb Houston. The Heat kept Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic, Haywood Highsmith, Orlando Robinson, Drew Smith. The Hornets kept LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Terry Rozier, Mark Williams, Nick Richards, Cody Martin, Nick Smith, JT Thor. The Hawks, Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Onyeka Okongwu, Sadiq Bey, AJ Griffin, Kobe Buffkin. The Bulls, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Kobe White, Pat Williams, Alex Caruso, Ayo Dosunmu, Javon Carter, Dalen Terry. The Cavs, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Max Strus, George Niang, Isaac Okoro. The Pistons, Cade Cunningham, Bojan Bogdanovic, Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Marcus Sasser, Isaiah Livers. The Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, Ben Mathurin, Jarris Walker, Andrew Nemhard, Ben Shepherd, Isaiah Jackson. The Bucks, Giannis, Middleton, Lopez, Portis, Connaughton, Beauchamp, Andre Jackson, AJ Green. The Spurs, Vic, Keldon Johnson, Vassell, Sohan, Trey Jones, Branham, Blake Wesley, CD Sissoko. The Pelicans, Zion, Ingram, McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Dyson Daniels, Jordan Hawkins, Larry Nance. The Grizzlies, Jaren, Smart, Bain, Adams, Aldama, Zaire, Roddy. The Rockets, Jalen Green, Şengün, Van Vliet, Dylan Brooks, Amin Thompson, Jabari, Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore. The Mavericks, Luka Doncic, Kyrie, Grant Williams, Maxi Kleba, Lively Prosper, Jaden Hardy, Josh Green. The Nuggets, Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Porter, Brown, then Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, and Jalen Pickett. The Timberwolves kept Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Josh Minot, Leonard Miller, Troy Brown Jr. The Thunder kept Shea, Chet, Dort, Giddey, J-Dub, Kaysen Wallace, Usman Jeng, Jalen Williams. The Blazers kept Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, Scoot, Shaden, Chris Murray, Yusuf Nurkic, who there is no way they would keep Yusuf Nurkic. We're going to switch Yusuf Nurkic with Nasir Little, Adam, and make Yusuf Nurkic available.
Okay.
And then Matisse Thybulle. The Jazz, Lowry Markkanen, John Collins, Keontae George, Walker Kessler, Taylor Hendricks, Ochai Agbaji, Bryce Sensabaugh, Jordan Clarkson. The Kings, Fox, Sabonis, Barnes, Herter, Keegan Murray, Sasha Vezenkov, Davion Mitchell, Chris Duarte. The Suns, Durant, Booker, Beal, Ayton, Jordan Goodwin, Tamani Kamara, Ish Wainwright, Saban Lee. The Lakers keep AD, Reeves, Rui, Gabe Vincent, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Max Christie, Max Lewis, Colin Castleton. The Clippers keep Norm Powell, Zubats, Terrence Mann, Kobe Brown, Bones Highland, Amir Coffey, BJ Boston, and Jason Preston. Finally, the Warriors keep Steph, Dre, Chris Paul, Wiggins, Kevon Looney, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Pajemski. Okay.
Oof, Sam.
Got through that pretty quick, actually.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. How much for the Blazers? Put on your Blazers GM hat. What about Nurkic?
Yeah, 2 years there. I would probably go with, and he is how old at this point? He'll probably be 30 at this point. I would probably do some sort of a protected first that would go in the later part of things and 2 seconds.
Okay. So the Portland Trailblazers are going to have probably a few picks coming up. That's an interesting one for me to try and pick up a potential first for 18 mil. They have that pick out to Chicago at some point, though.
Yeah.
Over the course of the next 5 years.
And I would think somewhere in the 16 to 25 range is where I'd be aiming to try to get this to convey and protect it elsewhere.
Okay. So you are willing to do a first for Nurkic. Okay.
And if it doesn't convey, 2 seconds.
The last one would be Tim Hardaway for Dallas. How much do you think Dallas wants to get off of Tim Hardaway?
All right, let me bring up his sheet and their books here for a moment, because you're asking all the right questions here, Sam. 31, about to be 32 years old, 1 year, $16 million expiring contract. It looks like we've got a lot of money on the books for 24-25 already. But what does an extra 16 do? Does it clear us of the tax? Well, it looks like we are about $9 million away from it right now, with only one key free agent in Josh Green, which is
would push you over.
That would push us over. So I would probably offer a similar type of deal to the Nurkic side of things. Probably top 16, top 17 protected.
Okay.
And if it doesn't convey, 2 seconds.
Okay. Could we do, so they owe the Knicks their pick this year. Let's assume that
Sure.
pick conveys, because they'll probably make, it's just top 10 protected. It's
Yeah.
not lottery protected or
Agree.
anything. I can't see them finishing in the top 10 this year again. Let's say it conveys. So this would be a 2026.
Yep.
Because you have to extend out 1 year.
Yep.
Pick. Dallas already has given up a 2029 pick. I actually don't know if they would do anything here.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah, now that you're saying that, they kind of need the flexibility in that regard. I'd offer 2 seconds to take Tim Hardaway.
Okay. And then, is there any other big contract here? I don't think the Hawks would pay to get off of Clint.
There's a Colin Sexton contract that was unprotected in Utah.
Yeah.
But I don't think they need to pay to get off of him by any means.
I don't think so either.
And those are the big contracts. There are a lot of mid-range ones in the 10 to 15 mark, but those are really the only ones that come above that 15 mark. I know Kevin Porter Jr. is an interesting one, but it's got so many different team outs and options that it's not one Houston needs to be dire to get rid of.
Yep. Okay. So you said you would do I don't even think Portland would be willing to do a pick to get off of Nurkic, because they have that weird. Maybe they would, because they're going to get picks to get off of. Lillard at some point. Can we assume that they've moved Lillard?
It's tough because he's protected in this exercise, but for the sake of decision making in June of next year, sure.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's actually hard to get extra picks, it feels like. Even
it is
with something like this.
Simmons might be the way.
I think Simmons might be the only way for me to do it. You might be right. What about Bagley for Detroit?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not giving anybody a pick to get off of a 1-year deal if I'm Detroit.
Okay. And you don't think Nurkic will give up a pick? You don't think they'll give up a first for Nurkic either?
I think it would be a real protected one. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, maybe I will think about that more. In that case, I will go ahead and just make a selection.
Ooh, we're on the clock. Do.
I'm going to take Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks.
Damn.
Number 1.
All right.
Then you're going to type in.
Yes, I will get that for you here. Jalen Johnson. What do you like about Jalen?
Yeah. 6'8", 6'9", has shown real defensive versatility already with the Atlanta Hawks. I think he's been a really, really impressive rotation player when I've seen him in. Guy that was a 5-star recruit, I think has some real potential upside as a creator, especially in transition. And it's hard to find any sort of real tangible upside, in my opinion, as you look across the space here, basically. It's very, very hard, I think, to find any sort of players that I buy into being like starter caliber players across the league that have real wing size, big wing size. So I'm going Jalen Johnson at 1.
I like it. He was among the top players on my board and may or may not have gone first for me. You'll never know.
Okay. I love it. You are up, Adam. Do you have any negotiations that you need?
I am up, and I'm not going to go down the negotiation stage just yet. I'm going to save that for a little bit longer, because while I agree with your approach of maximizing assets and wanting to get future draft picks, I think I'm going to use this as an opportunity to just continually add young players to this core that we're going to build, who I'm interested in seeing a little bit longer, that I'll have times in 24, 25, 26 to get future young players, but I need to make up the last couple of drafts to have really the type of group that I'm looking for. And I have a very strong theory about what wins in today's NBA. It's culture, it's high IQ basketball players, and it's having a lot of these positive defenders who can guard multiple positions and be bigger wings. I'm also looking at the format of the expansion draft and saying that if I take one player from, let's just say, the Oklahoma City Thunder, that also means that I am blocking Sam from doing so, but that there's a real scarcity when I see a team that has a lot of these good young players, even though Sam and I may disagree on who the best one is, that it is incumbent upon me to beat him to that space, to try to go towards the Oklahoma City Thunder and take who I believe to be their best kind of younger role player who's going to suit us really well. So I am going to go with the reclamation project of reclamation projects that I've been looking for. I'm going to take Usman Garuba, my first pick.
Okay. Interesting. He was pretty, I wouldn't say low on my board for the Thunder, but I mean, like I had, so part of this I'm considering with the Thunder is, and I can no longer take a Thunder player, so I'll kind of give away what the game is for me.
Sure.
I'm also thinking of these guys as like trade assets in some way, right? And I just do not believe that Garuba will ever really have that kind of high level trade value league wide that I'm looking for. Like if I was going to look at somebody on the Thunder, I probably would have taken one of Trey Mann or Aaron Wiggins.
Interesting.
And I actually don't think they're the team that I was most interested in trying to block you from taking someone from. I think that team is actually going to be the next team I select from.
And I have a guess for who that is, but I'll just share this with Oklahoma City. I considered really 3 players here. I considered Garuba, I considered Aaron Wiggins, and I considered Isaiah Joe, because I think that good role players who can come in and kind of spot you minutes are really there quite well. What I'm also looking for with Garuba, he's got 1 year left on his contract. I don't think that he's going to price himself out of being able to be retained here on a more team-friendly contract, even if he gets significant minutes this year. But he was a guy I was super, super high on early in the draft process for him back in 2021. I just believe he hasn't found the right system for him yet. And based on the way we want to construct a roster here and play basketball, I think Usman's going to fit for us.
Okay, I like it. Next up, I am going to go to the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
They're the team that's most interesting to me here.
Saw this coming.
It would pretty easily be Brandon Clark, but I don't think Brandon Clark would be available if he wasn't coming off of the Achilles injury. I am instead going to take a guy that I just generally have liked throughout the process here for a long time. I'm going to take Jake LaRavia as a player that I think has real upside as a big wing shooter who can impact the game as a winner, as like a role player across a lot of different positions, across the 3 and the 4, realistically. And I think is just kind of waiting for a chance to play. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he beat out David Roddy for playing time this year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in their rotation. I did kind of wonder if they would keep him over Zaire, or if they would keep Zaire Williams or him. I wasn't totally sure. But given that you have left LaRavia available, I have decided to go with LaRavia. I think that it's the easiest choice.
Sure. And look, Memphis is going to be in a really difficult situation if this is what comes to them next year, because, Zaire Williams, David Roddy, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, and even to some extent, like John Conchar has been really interesting for them. There are a lot of role players and young players that the Grizzlies are going to have to make a decision about. We could be grasping at straws and really disagreeing with who those final 2 selections are, but we gotta decide on somebody, and LaRavia is one that didn't make the cut, played the fewest minutes out of him and David Roddy as a rookie.
Yep, I love it. Okay, you are up.
All right, back to Las Vegas here as we are assembling our flush roster, pun intended, and I keep thinking about what wins in modern basketball and having a lot of really good wings as being kind of part of that formula. And I'm going to take another guy who I'm a little bit interested in here, not as a wing, but just as a tradable contract to go down that road, while also somebody who I think can put up numbers and stabilize us in year 1 and just help us get off on the right foot. I'm going to go with Kevin Porter Jr. out of Houston. I think that contract is too nice to turn up in some regard.
So I didn't want Porter.
I'm sure.
I wanted Jayshawn Tate for reasons that we'll talk about momentarily. Yeah. I was going to try to cultivate a trade of some sort with a third team involving Jayshawn Tate.
Interesting.
The idea of flipping Tate into like a late first rounder. Like Boston would do something like, I bet, I would think that I think there are probably teams out there that would flip Jayshawn Tate for a first rounder as like a real rotation player that probably projects well to playing in the playoffs at a high level. Whereas I don't think you could get a first for Kevin Porter Jr. right now.
I don't think I can right now, but I think with the ball in his hands as kind of the number one option in our first year of a franchise, we're going to be able to do
Yeah.
that, to turn him into a positive asset, to put the ball in his hands. There's a part of this that's putting butts in seats too, Sam, and getting things out for the right mold for our franchise here. And again, I see that contract with the multiple outs that we can have as a team, the
Yep.
potential tradability of that for other teams that would acquire him. And I think this checks too many boxes for me to pass up on much longer.
He will do that. I think that is definitely true. In that vein, I think there is just like a better player available. Like I would just rather have this guy that I think I'm going to take.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Jayshawn Tate was the most interesting, like, veteran trade option, like trying to incorporate a third team.
Okay. So now,
because like if you're Phoenix, like you definitely try and get Jayshawn Tate. I think
sure.
like there are just like a number of different teams out there that'd be willing to do that. Huh. Okay, now I'm a little bit thrown. I did not think you would take Kevin Porter.
Yeah.
That's kind of annoying.
Sorry about that. Not really though.
Yeah.
He's young, he scores. There's legit upside there.
No, there is. You're 100% right. Okay. I am just going to take Colin Sexton, I think. I think he's just like the better asset of the two. He's just a much more efficient player. He doesn't turn the ball over nearly as much. He's a better shooter. I get that he's smaller and like a little bit more of a defensive liability, but I just like, I trust Colin Sexton a little bit more than I trust Kevin Porter Jr. I know that the numbers look fine for Kevin, but I think that watching him play, like it's a different, I just don't feel that way.
Sure.
Yeah. And yeah, Brian K is saying there's no way they'd protect Dylan Brooks over Kevin Porter. I feel quite confident they would protect Dylan Brooks over Kevin Porter. Maybe that would change after this season, but if they were making decisions right now, yeah, I think it's pretty clear they would protect Dylan Brooks over Kevin Porter. Yeah. And you can make the point that Kevin Porter is not a point guard. I get that. Like, I think that that's absolutely true. It doesn't help anybody, but like he would be a point guard in Adam's scheme, and he probably would have been a point guard in my scheme. Yep. And I don't want Kevin Porter as a point guard. I think he's a great sixth man, but when I watch him, like he's just dominating the ball out there in such a real substantial way. And it's not what I kind of want. And look, you could say the same about Colin Sexton, but I think Sexton plays a little bit better with teammates on the offensive end. I think he's a little bit more decisive. I don't think he doesn't like dance as much on the perimeter. It's pretty straight line. It's shooting. Mm-hmm. It's everything like that. Yeah, no, I think that I feel pretty good about the fact that they would keep Brooks over Porter. Yeah. And I feel good about taking Sexton essentially over Porter here as well. And I think Sexton would probably be like a somewhat interesting trade chip for a team that might need some scoring at the deadline. So I'm going to go Sexton here. I feel pretty good about it. Sexton last year shot 50, 39, 82 from the field, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. You look at his season in 2021 with Cleveland before he got hurt, was very effective. He played 60 games and had 24 points per game, had a true shooting percentage that was league average, and gets to the foul line a ton, absolutely lives at the foul line. This is a guy that I think makes a little bit more sense for me personally.
I totally respect that for you. I was coming down to kind of those two, no doubt about it.
And I think Kellen Johnson brings up a good point here. The same ownership group that gave Kevin Porter a contract that they can easily get out of and then guaranteed Dylan Brooks $90 million shows which one they value more. I think there's like no question that they would value Dylan Brooks more than Kevin Porter, just based off of that alone.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. Adam, you are up.
Yeah, third pick for me, and I am going to continue to go with a roster construction that I think helps wins in the modern NBA. I want a lot of wings. I want a lot of guys on cheap team rookie-controlled contracts and younger players who I want to see what they can become. So I'm going to take a flyer on a guy who I quite liked during his pre-draft process, and I think I really like what he's kind of turned into thus far. I'm going to go Julian Champagnie from the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh wow, I like
Champagnie.
That was not on my board. I will say
really,
that.
He had a great summer league this year.
So did Dom Barlow. Dom would have been.
So did Dom Barlow.
The one that I liked there. Interesting. So explain more about Julian Champagnie.
So he's a real penny. He's not just a Champagnie, but he's an unbelievable kind of two-way flyer for me at this point. I think I like the way he guards and the length that he has. He definitely shot the ball really well when he was at St. John's, and I believe he can be that kind of 3-and-D type of player down the line. But he has grown into a real comfortable player who can do some things with the ball in his hands. And the scoring outbursts we saw from him in college have me really intrigued kind of what he's going to continue to evolve into.
Okay.
We're going youth here, Sam. This for me is keeping costs low and trying to get as many young players who I know I like as humanly possible early on.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that I might take one that I think that you like next. And talk contract with him. Okay. I would like to open up. I need you to take over as Chuma Okeke's agent for a moment, please.
Interesting. Yes, sir. Okay. Chuma.
So Chuma Okeke is coming off of a disastrous season, frankly. 4.7 points, 3.6 rebounds in 27 games played. Continually gets hurt, unfortunately, but had a really great year in 2021-22. I thought showcased some of the defensive versatility. 9 points, 5 rebounds, nearly 2 assists, 1.4 steals. I thought was really an effective player in the minutes that he played 25 a night for the Orlando Magic. And I thought was even okay as a rookie. The problem is the shooting just hasn't come around and he hasn't really gotten a chance yet to showcase that. I would be willing for Okeke to go with the 4-year, $28 million deal that Nasir Little signed with Portland as a comp.
Yeah, I'm signing that if I'm Chuma and his agent. I'm absolutely signing that. No outs at all, 4 years straight.
I would like a team option on the 4th. So you're getting 20. I'll even go flat and just go flat 7 per year instead of escalating it. So it's just a $7 million team option on the end of it.
So I'm looking at the free agency signings from this year and guys who signed for just below $7 million. Obviously some veterans, Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon, but AJ Green, Josh Okogie, Damian Lee, Torrey Craig.
Those are all minimum guys.
Those are all minimum guys. So for me, $7 million a year is slightly above the minimum now and probably closer to what the minimum will be then.
Nah, I mean, sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's somewhat. It's above the minimum for sure.
It's above.
It's probably right around what the mini mid-level will be then.
Yeah, I'm taking it if I'm Chuma and his agent.
Okay. So I will take Chuma Okeke then.
Okay.
And I will go 4 years, 28 million team option on the end of that deal. And I will take my flyer on an athletic 6'7" guy with super long arms who has showcased real defensive ability throughout the course of his career. And as long as the shot comes and he stays healthy, I think he's definitely a rotation player in the NBA. You like Chuma, don't? I'm like not crazy. They're thinking you really like Chuma, right?
I'm actually not a Chuma guy.
Interesting. Why did I think you liked him?
I don't know, but yeah, I prefer those wings who can really shoot. I'm more of a shooting over like stout multi-positional defense guy when it push comes to shove. So I included in here, and particularly in the note section, the 4-year, $28 million contract that you agreed to. We're going to leave it off the books for now because he's a restricted free agent and you have bird rights. You don't have to ink that in until after you come to negotiation with some other unrestricted free agents. So I want to make sure that that's reflected in the total cap sheet there, that he doesn't count against the books just yet.
Yeah, but what is his qualifying offer? We might want that.
Yeah, that's true. We might want the qualifying offer. I'm not qualified to find that right now.
Yeah, his qualifying offer is slated around 15, so I want to lock that in now.
Okay.
It's 7.
All right. So there it is. 7 for Chuma Okeke from Sam Vecenie and the mediocre Sonics.
Yeah, what can you do?
What can you do?
Okay.
All right. I'm up.
You're up.
I'm up number 4. So I'm going to ask you to do the same type of negotiation here.
Beautiful.
For a restricted free agent who is coming off of a season where he actually averaged 10 points.
And Adam's gone. I hung up on Adam. That was ridiculous. Adam should be coming back here momentarily. As we're waiting, you can see the teams. Adam is now back in the stream. Here we go.
We're back. Note to self, don't open too many tabs while drafting.
Okay, here we go.
All right. Please negotiate with me over
a
man who averaged 10 a game and is a very good shooter. Started 60 games last year. Aaron Nesmith. Let's enter some contract negotiations.
Okay. So Aaron Nesmith, like you said, started 60 games for the Indiana Pacers last year, averaged 10 points per game, shot 37% from 3, 4 rebounds, 25 points or 25 minutes per game. I probably want, if I'm his agent, 11 or 12, I would say, per year.
So that puts him in the same vein as Kobe White, Dante DiVincenzo, Matisse Thybulle.
Kobe White, Dante DiVincenzo, Matisse Thybulle. Yeah, sounds right. Yeah. I'm going to want a little bit more than that. Matisse was out of the rotation for the Sixers. Kobe, I've probably proven more than Kobe has at this point. So I'm going to want, basically 4 years, $50 million, I think, for Aaron Nesmith is what I'm going to ask for.
4 years, $50 million. So that's average of 12 and a half.
And you can negotiate back on this.
Yeah. I think I would probably rather go 3 years with slightly more money, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'd rather go 3 years, $40 million.
Yeah, I take that if I'm Aaron Nesmith.
Take that one.
You want to sign Aaron Nesmith for $340? Then
I'm gonna do that. I would love to. And what I get with that is a good floor spacing
and shooting.
Floor spacing and shooting to have around any other younger projects that I go after, around whatever potential free agents I sign. I'm very happy in getting just solid wing shooters who I know can play in this league.
And you're going to want to lock that in at that number because his qualifying offer is 16.
So I'm going to take first year is about 13 million.
Yep.
So Sam, you are back on the clock.
Okay. And you have taken the Pacers off the board.
I have taken the Indiana Pacers off the board.
Okay. So let's cross them out. And then we'll cross the Magic out as well. Okay. Next up. Let's see here. Who else is interesting to me?
It thins out pretty quickly, doesn't it?
So you would do a protected first for Nurkic.
Top 20 protected.
Can we get it to... So the protections here are going to be important. So they still owe the Bulls this pick. Probably not going to transfer this year. So we're getting out to 2027 already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we're talking 27, I don't...
So I would want to take on Nurkic's money. I would want their next available first. I would want it top 16 protected. And I would want it to extend out for 2-3 years. I would say 3 years.
I would not do that. I wouldn't want... No.
2.
No, I don't think so. I'd go 1, take it or leave it in that regard.
And then I'd end up with 2 seconds is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. Not worth it yet. That's actually something I will consider down the road, though.
Okay.
Okay. It really does thin out very, very quickly.
It does. Here. It does. And that's why I wanted to go after my priority restricted free agent in Nesmith right there.
Yeah. No, I think it's smart. I think it was a smart move. Who am I? Is there anybody I'm missing here that I'm thinking, this is somebody that I really need. Somebody that I am really, really interested and intrigued in taking a flyer on.
Yeah, it thins out rather quick.
Thins out quickly. In this case, I think I am just going to take it does get hard.
It does.
I'm going to take Jose Alvarado.
Okay. All right. I like that for you. Yeah. Why do you like Jose here?
Good defender, good play, like good overall team player that I really believe in as at the very least a backup point guard. I think somebody eventually would probably be pretty happy to acquire Jose Alvarado in a trade if necessary. He's shown that he's capable of coming in and starting games occasionally. Averaged 9 points, 3 assists in 21 games last year. Effective, smart decision maker. Can at least knock down somewhere between 33 and 35% of his shots from distance. I think just a smart overall team player that I really am happy to acquire.
Okay, yeah, I have nothing against Alvarado. I find your roster construction of Sexton and Alvarado to be not bad by any means, but I think it's fascinating you're going with a couple guards this early.
I'm just taking players, honestly. I'm sort of thinking about roster construction, but like. I'm going to make moves around this as it is. So.
Sure. Oh, no doubt about it. The way I see things here, you've got 2 picks in the draft. You've got however much free agency you're going to be able to squeeze out, a couple trades that you can make after. Like you're looking for 5 to 7 guys that you're going to have on your roster and flexible contracts to make the rest work, and or flyers that you want to take on maybe some restricted guys who you can sign to a 2-way contract later on in this thing.
No question.
So I am going to continue to go down the intriguing kind of younger player route, and I am going to snag Julian Phillips from the Chicago Bulls.
Cool. Yep. He was somewhere kind of closing in for me.
Yeah.
Why did you take Julian Phillips?
So I want to have a stable of young wings that I can continue to kind of develop here, because if I've got a team, and let's just be very honest here, we don't have a lot of delusions of trying to compete for an NBA championship in the first year or two that we're going to be around. The cap restrictions that are placed on us as we ramp up kind of make that really hard to happen. So what I would like to do is continue to take as many bites at the apple as I can at young players who I'm interested in and I've been interested in their pre-draft area. And if 2 of them stick, I think that makes this expansion draft pretty valuable for us. Champagnie, Phillips, and Garuba are 3 of the first on that board. I've got a veteran turning into a veteran wing now in Nesmith, who I really like as a 3-point shooter, and a guy in Porter to kind of stabilize the offense early on while serving as a versatile contract. Like, for me, I really like where we're at.
Okay. I'm going to take Colby Jones next. I had a first round grade on Colby Jones.
I knew it.
27th overall, if I remember correctly, something like that. Colby, just a guy that I think is going to be able to step in, be a solid defender, knock down shots, and make good decisions and be physical as a 6'5", 6'6" guard. I think he's a rotation player. I don't think he's a star. Maybe you could convince me long-term a 5th starter if things really broke right for him, but just went 34th in this past draft, right? And yeah, I think Colby is just a really, really sharp, smart, intuitive player.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to do that there. And, in looking back at the Kings and their roster, like, I liked Colby, but I couldn't be dead set that he was the best option available. I like his contract and that he's a rookie. Yep. But man, do I like Nehemias Queta. I like Keon Ellis in a lot of different ways. Yeah. I think both of those guys are legit NBA players. I just wasn't ready to pull the trigger on Colby in comparison to those other 2 yet. I wanted a little more time to bide through that process, but I'm glad you get reunited with your man, Colby Jones.
I do like Colby Jones quite a bit. You're up, Adam. You are up at number 6 for your picks.
Yeah, I am up again here. I am scanning the board a little bit and just trying to make sure that I don't want to enter in any free agency conversations with you at this point in time. I don't think I do. I think I'm going to double down again on wings and young role players who are on cheap contracts. And quite frankly, I'm going to go with a guy who I think has already proven he can play in the NBA. I'm going to go Sam Hauser, the Boston Celtics.
Okay. Give me some takes on Sam Hauser.
Yeah, 1 year left on his contract here. So, we may have to end up paying a little bit more for him a year from now, but he's played 2 years in the league and shot above 40% from 3 each season. I do think this is going to be a pivotal year for him in Boston, where he gets a little bit more playing time and his floor spacing shows increasing value. But as he can show he stays on the floor in an NBA setting, I think those are hard guys to find in an expansion draft at pick number 6, or really pick number 12, if you consider both of us here. So I think what Hauser has put together just as a shooting specialist, we're stocking up on those guys. We've got him in Nesmith. Champagnie can shoot it. I have hopes for Julian Phillips long-term. I like the wing depth that we're assembling on young guys here, Sam.
Okay, so with Cleveland here, what would you give me to take Ricky Rubio or Dean Wade instead of taking one of their younger guys? Because if they take Rubio or Wade, the Cavs will have a full mid-level exception available next year. Whereas if they don't, they're only about 10 million or so. And after their draft pick, they would be quite close. And I believe they do have their pick next year, actually. So is there any way I could convince you to give me some pick value for the Cavs, to give some pick value for me to take one of Wade or Rubio?
What does the Cavs treasure trove of future assets look like, particularly with second rounders? Because I don't think this is a consequential number enough at this point in time for me to want to consider giving away any first rounders.
Okay. They have 3 seconds incoming. They owe their 2024 second to someone. It's one of those like very complicated picks. And then they have out all of, they really can't trade a first. They have all of 2025 out, 2027 and 2029 out. And then they have swaps, I believe, out as well in some capacity. I think 28 and 26 are swaps. Okay. So it'd be like seconds.
Yeah, and the incoming seconds that we have, who are they from?
Milwaukee, Denver, and Golden State.
You can have your pick of one of them if you take Rubio.
I would like two to take Dean Wade.
No, you can have one to take Rubio.
Okay, then I'll pass.
Because I have
them having their mid-levels super valuable next year, Adam.
It is. I'm not saying it isn't, but what are the chances that Rubio's contract kind of disappears on its own?
You're saying he could retire, maybe?
Yeah.
That's never going to happen. He's not going to pass up $6 million next year for nothing.
Do I have to give up a second, or could I wait and trade him into space elsewhere? And not, well, I'd probably give up the same thing then.
Yeah.
Would you do 2 seconds for Rubio instead of Wade? Golden State and Denver. And you take Rubio.
I would like one of your seconds and any of those that are owed in, and I will take Rubio.
Okay. Would you do I don't have the sheet in front of me or else my browser is going to freaking crash again. Would you take like a 27 or 28 second from Cleveland and this year's Denver?
I would do a 27 and so it'd be 2 27s. So the Denver pick is 27.
Yep.
I would like Cleveland's 25 second and the 27 from Denver.
What year is the Golden State second, Sam?
It is 24. It's this year.
Okay. I will give you the 24 and my 20.
It's a fake second. Sorry. I'm not taking that one. That one is, it's like a fake second.
We'll get this deal done, Sam. I'm not going to hinder you from
moving forward.
Forward here with Ricky Rubio.
So I'm going to take Rubio and I'm going to get 2 seconds.
You'll get two somewhat meaningful potential seconds. Yeah.
Additional assets. 2 seconds from CLE.
I'll block out the Cavaliers.
2025 CLE second, 2027 Denver second. Okay.
So are we at the point, Sam, where you are viewing potential draft picks as being more valuable than a lot of the players who are on the board and just searching for situations where you can take advantage of that?
No, totally. A little bit, but like I'm also like considering how much cap space I have left. Like I still have, something like 50 million available in the books. So there are a few players that I still want to target for sure and like have interest in, but there are a few players that we're closing in on that point though. I would say we're closing in.
Yeah. It seems like that time is getting close. So if I'm Cleveland and I'm sitting in the front office here, Kobe Altman, I'm feeling pretty good that I was able to actually keep Dean Wade.
I would like to see them play Dean Wade before I feel like they have any thoughts on that.
Sure. But I would much rather have him than I would for Ricky Rubio. So I'm glad that I was able to entice you to take Rubio.
Yeah, it feels like a win all across the board there for me.
Yeah. Beautiful.
You are up with your 7th pick, Adam.
I am, and I'm actually going to do something that you probably don't like very much, but I'm going to knock Portland off the board, and it's going to take away your ability to ever trade for Yusuf Nurkic.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I am going to go with Mr. Jabari Walker.
Yeah, good player. I like Jabari.
Yep. Again, guys who are NBA-ish players and kind of belong in the league in some regard. I think he's already proven that. I love his motor, his hustle, his effort. I don't have delusions this far down of finding top 4 or 5 guys. Like maybe there's one out there that I can find to plug into that. I want the best chances of guys who will turn into role players in 2 to 3 years when I hope to be a very good team. I think Jabari Walker is that guy.
Yep, I think that's totally reasonable. My pick is going to be similar in that capacity because I'm going to speed up here after that long negotiation. I am going to go Bryce McGowens from Charlotte.
Ooh, all right. I got you here. I like
if you look at Bryce McGowens over the last, 11 games of the season last year for Charlotte, averaged 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, shot 45 from the field, 33 from 3, 75 from the line. Bigger guy with guard skills. I thought he played a real role and played reasonably well defensively at times for Charlotte late in the year as well. I think he has potential to be a good, 6th or 7th man. And I'm pretty happy to end up with Bryce McGowens at this point in the draft.
I like that. Yeah, I certainly, I love McGowens. I was a huge fan of his a year ago. I think there was opportunity to take him. I keep going the wing heavy route here, but I certainly understand that one.
Yep. Okay, you are up.
Yeah, back here, and this is going to be a tough one for me. Which direction do I want to go? I could take a flyer on another interesting young player who's only got 1 year left on his contract. Do I see anybody else out here that is really worth taking? I'm going to bite the bullet, and I'm going to go Patrick Baldwin Jr.
Okay. Yeah, he was one that I was looking at for a little while now. Why did you take Pat Baldwin Jr. here?
The upside. This is a guy who can come in the best version of himself as a really good stretch 3-point shooter who has legit positional size, can be in an NBA and even a playoff rotation someday. There's plenty of things that he has to clean up to get to that point. But this is, to me, an informed bet on a young player who has showcased upside before, and with health and stability around him for a couple years in the NBA, I'm hoping he returns to that type of form, while also thinking I'm not going to have to pay that much money on his next contract in order to keep him. I got 1 year with him to try things out, and then we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
Giving myself a lot of optionality on wing shooters here, where if 3 of them hit, then hopefully I become a really attractive destination for some veterans to try to come to and say, you know what, I can play with the ball in my hands. And Spinella has constructed a team here in Las Vegas that can really knock down open shots, compete, and have these toolsy role player wings that are going to help us, whether it's Nesmith, Hauser, Champagny, Walker, Phillips, Baldwin. There are a lot of options for us. If 2 of those 6 hit, that's a really good bench rotation and maybe potentially a starter to have on a team as we move forward.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. I like what you've done so far. I think it all lines up. You take Naismith, you take Jabari Walker, hoping that his energy and athleticism can be valuable. You obviously have Champagny and you have Sam Hauser, who's going to shoot it. And, it's an interesting construction. I think that trying to convince good players to come there and trying to actualize your draft pick is essentially what you're doing.
Yeah.
Trying to make your life easier for your draft pick that you're going to bring in, which is smart.
No doubt about it. And not just that, but for free agency. Like, I'm looking at my cap sheet right now, and I've got $45 million remaining with only 4 picks left in the expansion draft. I don't have to use all of that money. If I want to try to convince somebody to, one of these marquee free agents this year to try to come to Las Vegas and give him maybe a little bit more than what anybody else can give, we got him. We got Kevin Porter, got a bunch of shooters around you, a young draft pick that we'll take here in 2024. Like we could be an intriguing destination sooner rather than later.
Okay. So let's see here. I'm trying to do some quick math here.
Okay.
Okay. Trying to decide if I think Dante Exum is like an actual real NBA player.
Dallas is such a fascinating team in this exercise.
Yeah. And I think there's like a very real case that Dante is coming off of his play for Partizan the past year and then playing for Barca before that. Yeah. I thought he was really actually particularly good with Partizan this year. The question is, would I rather have Dante or would I rather have like picks, basically?
Yeah. And you're pretty clear you'd rather have Exum than Dwight Powell?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay. I need you to put your agency hat on again.
Okay, here we go.
If I was to select James Wiseman here, what would you be asking for?
Can I quit?
You're gonna get a wide open opportunity. I do not have a center on this roster yet.
You don't. So let me ask you this, Sam. How I am viewing this as a potential rehabilitation landing spot.
Yep.
For my clients. And I'm thinking I could be convinced to go shorter contract, but a lot of money right out of the gates if that were something we wanted to look at.
I mean, what's a lot of money?
Right. That's what I got to figure out here. So I'm looking at last year's free agent class. What's the mid-level this year?
It's like 12.
I'll ask for 13.
Okay, I'm not in that ballpark.
1 year, 13 to give me a shot.
Oh, well, he could just sign the qualifying offer then. He's unrestricted immediately
right.
if I take him.
That's right. And I'm aiming high here, Sam. Like there's room for negotiation, but
I mean, like I'd do 432 with a team option on the last.
Yeah, see, I feel like I can't lock him in with a team option for a 4th year either, because that's if you really believe in my client,
yeah,
then
I don't.
You know. Okay.
Negotiation over. Okay. In this case, I will take. I'm going to take just Trace Jackson Davis then.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. We're just gonna call it there. I had a top 40 grade on Trace Jackson Davis. I feel good about just ending up with him on a cheap deal. He can play center. I think he's better than Usman Garuba. Like I'll take him.
Ooh, better than Usman. I am pretending I didn't hear that.
Adam, you have to take someone. My headphones just died, so I have to go grab my other headphones.
All right.
So talk into this and figure it all out.
Yeah, I'll scan the board here and try to figure out who's available. So I'll give a quick reset for everybody. I have 4 picks remaining, and Sam has 3. The teams that we can select from are the Brooklyn Nets, New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers, Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons. In the East. In the West, we can select from Dallas, Denver, Minnesota, the Lakers, Clippers, or Phoenix. So we're kind of bound by those teams which are still available. I don't really know what direction to go here. I'd like another big man as well for depth purposes. I'm going to ask the negotiation question with you here, Sam, on Deuce McBride. What are you seeking for your client this offseason?
Oh, what are you willing to offer? Let's start there.
I am looking at. I hate how you do that, by the way.
You can pitch it back.
You're a good negotiator. Yeah, you're a good negotiator. So based on kind of what he has earned at this point, I would think 2 years, $10 million seems very fair to me.
I would do that for Deuce for sure.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful. We'll
go
so
Deuce McBride.
$5 million annual. I'm going to take Deuce McBride.
Okay. There you go.
And there's a little defensive and intensity and identity evolving in my backcourt. I happen to quite like Bruce or Deuce.
Yeah, I do too. I had a late first round on him as well. And I think I really like the energy and activity he brought to the Knicks at times last year. I think it's a smart move.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a fan of his. Again, for 2 years here, I think that gives us enough time to kind of use our cap space while we have it and not be tied into anything too much longer, and feeling good about it.
Okay. So I'm assuming that there is no way that you will give me assets to take Bagley, right?
No. In fact, I'm looking at the board here, and I mean, other than Ben Simmons, who I think the ship probably has sailed from a cap space standpoint, I don't think there's anybody I'd really give an asset for. Maybe Hardaway, but
yeah, I was going to ask about Hardaway next.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's a 1 year. We can stomach it. I know we need to retain Josh Green, but I think we can trim elsewhere.
Yeah, but then you're going to get into repeater stuff because then you're going to have to pay other guys moving forward as well. And I don't think you want to get into repeater stuff.
I just don't know how much of an asset to give in this situation from Dallas.
Would you do, for me to take Hardaway, would you do man, they really have moved out all of their own seconds, basically.
Yeah. Like they're so depleted from the Kyrie trade and other deals. It's just
they've literally moved out all of their own seconds. It looks like they only have a second from Toronto and a second from Miami available. I think I would want both of those to do that.
And that leaves me for Dallas as literally no draft picks between now and 2028.
You would have a bunch this year, if I remember correctly, right?
Sure.
Because they have.
But we're not trading 24s in this exercise.
We're not trading 24s, no.
Right.
But Dallas, in theory, has New York's pick this year. They have their own pick, I think. And they have what else? Do they have their own pick? I think they have their own pick, right?
I don't remember. I can't keep track of the years. I assume that
no. It's the other way. Dallas is going to New York because New York has 3 picks. Dallas does not have any picks this year. Yeah. So no.
I'm not comfortable giving up 2 second-round picks when I have nothing else in general.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't be comfortable doing that.
Okay, and you're not doing it for Bagley, and Simmons is the only one that you would be willing to. And for Simmons, it would be. I mean, look. I mean, we can revisit the Simmons conversation now.
Sure.
Like, do I have the salary cap space to take on Simmons?
Barely.
Because I would take Simmons, and then I would have 7 left basically for 2 spots. So I do. I have enough space to take Simmons. You also have enough space to take Simmons.
Okay. I do not actually. I am just over that line. I believe I only have 40.1 remaining, and you have 42.3.
Then I don't have enough space to take Simmons.
Yeah.
If I have 42.
You've got 42 left. Yeah.
Okay. So Simmons is out. Okay. I'm not going to take Ben in that case.
Smart.
I probably did not manage my space well enough in this exercise, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm looking at that too. Like, there might have been an opportunity earlier to do that, but who would I have shorted on my side? Like, I like the Porter signing, and I like Neesmith. So everything else is under $5 million.
Okay. And then who else? I'm trying to decide, like, do I want to take the flyer on Killian Hayes right now?
Yeah.
Probably. Like, I mean, put on your agency hat. Like, Killian Hayes, I would do, I'd do 3 for 28 with a team option on the 3rd year.
Yeah, I'm in for that if I'm Killian. I think so. I think that's
okay. So you get basically 218 guaranteed.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So Kevin is asking in the comments how Colin Sexton was available for Utah. You protect 8 players. Adam protected Markkanen, John Collins, Keontae George, Walker Kessler, Taylor Hendricks, Oshai Agbaji, Bryce Sensabaugh, Jordan Clarkson. I guess that there's like a conversation on John Collins or Colin Sexton on who you protect, but I think it's one that could go either way in terms of what you would end up doing.
Yeah, and a lot of these are splitting hairs, or they'll be changed as kind of the year moves forward, and we just got to make the best estimation we can at this point in time, or just kind of come to a decision. So we did 228 guaranteed with a 3rd-year option of
328. So essentially a 218 guaranteed.
Okay.
Killian Hayes.
So we'll just put we'll go average
9.5.
Yeah.
9.2 or something.
Sure. 9.2 in there, and I got 3 picks left. 40 million in space. Detroit Pistons are off the board. I know we've had this conversation already, but I'll ask you, would you do something differently and actually offer both 2nd-round picks for me to take Tim Hardaway? Is that something, if you were Dallas, you would consider?
The fact that they only have 2 does make it fairly complicated, because then you just do not have any touch rights. Nothing. In terms of trades. Like, it actually becomes extremely, extremely complicated for them to make any moves. Yeah. I would personally rather just be over the tax by retaining Josh Green at that point.
I think so too.
So,
okay. All right.
Whether or not I think Mark Cuban would think that way, I don't know. But as the person making the decision, I will say no to that, and we'll knock off the Hardaway option now.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. All right, so then I am gonna go. I'll go with Shake Milton.
Okay, cool.
1 year, $5 million, but it's a non-guaranteed deal. And at this point, that's something that I find somewhat valuable. It is a player who can be in my rotation if I need him to be, but I have additional cap flexibility moving into the summer if that's something I determine is best.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to go Hunter Tyson next for sure.
Yep.
All summer league team this year. I'm a little bit surprised he lasted as long as he did. Hunter Tyson is quite good. And, for a similar, I would rather have Hunter Tyson than Sam Hauser, I guess.
Really?
Is where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, I go the proven route with Hauser. He's proven he can do it in the league already.
Yeah. No, I get it. But I think that Hunter is a little bit more athletic. I think he has a better chance to defend. Yeah, that's where I would go.
Okay. Fair enough. Pick number 11 for the flush. And boy, are we getting into the weeds here.
Oh, totally.
So I'm going to throw out a player to you here, Mr. Agent, and just ask if he would take a two-way contract if we were to offer it to him. Ron Harper Jr.
Ooh.
If I wanted to poach Ron Harper Jr. away and said, we will give you a two-way contract for next season, would you do that instead of entering free agency as his agent?
I would, because you'd be, obviously this team would give you a better chance to play in theory and like earn a spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're Ron Harper, you would hope that you can beat out, Julian Champagny and Julian Phillips and Sam Hauser. And honestly, there's probably enough space. Yeah, I would do that. So Ron Harper is a two-way.
Beautiful. I love that. I loved Harper coming out of Rutgers. I like his versatility. I like his physicality and his length. It's just another one of those wing upside bets that I'm willing to make here. If he sticks and he beats out any of the guys that I've drafted ahead of him, like that is a win for me. That's not a loss. That's an unequivocal win.
It is. Okay. So how many teams left? So we've got
8 teams, 8 NBA teams left. Our final pick for each of us.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. I'm going to go to Dallas. And I think I am just going to take Exum and take the chance that he is a real NBA player. So for people who don't know, Dante Exum this year was one of the best players, in EuroLeague for swaths of the season. Wasn't 100% consistent, but a guy that shot 52% from the field, 39% from three, and 86% from the line while averaging 13 points in 23 minutes a game as a really, really good player for Partizan in EuroLeague. And Partizan was an awesome team in EuroLeague this year. One of the 4 or 5 best teams. And, I'll take a shot on it, I guess. I'll take a shot on him staying healthy. I'll take a shot on him being able to be effective. You just look at the numbers. 13 points a game, was top 20 in scoring in EuroLeague, and among teams that were like really good, it was in the top 10 in scoring. So yeah, I'll take Exum and see what comes of him, basically in the hopes that he becomes a real NBA player.
Sure. I totally get that at this point. And he was really good last season from what I haven't watched a ton, but what I did see, pretty impressive player.
Okay. You are up now, Adam. Last pick.
The last pick, I'm going to ask you to put your agency hat back on, Sam.
Okay.
If I were to just offer you a 1-year contract for whatever the going rate minimum is, because I'm not a cap guru expert, for a younger player like Trendon Watford, would you take it as his agent?
I would want, for Trendon Watford, I would want if you're just doing like a 1-year minimum,
it would be like a 1+1 with the second year completely unguaranteed.
And it's only 2 years. It's not 3.
It's not 3. It's 2 with the second year as a $0 guaranteed.
Yeah, I would do that if I was Trendon's agent. So
I am grabbing Trendon Watford then with my last pick. And what is the number exactly for a minimum for next year? What would you?
It's going to be under 2, I would venture. Just like ballpark it at 2.
Ballpark it at 2. Wonderful. And that completes our rosters are 12-man.
Okay. So as people can see here, this is what we've got. I ended up with Jalen Johnson, Jake LaRavia, Colin Sexton, Chuma Okeke, Jose Alvarado, Colby Jones, Ricky Rubio, Bryce McGowans, Trace Jackson Davis, Killian Hayes, Hunter Tyson, Dante Exum. And then I also got 2 seconds from Cleveland to take Ricky Rubio. The Las Vegas flush ended up with Usman Garuba, Kevin Porter Jr., Julian Champagny, Aaron Naismith, Julian Phillips, Sam Hauser, Jabari Walker, Pat Baldwin, Deuce McBride, Shake Milton, Ron Harper Jr., Trenton Watford. Honestly, these teams are somewhat dire looking at them, like league wide.
Yeah.
And it makes me think that the NBA will adjust the rules slightly on stuff like this.
Yeah. Yep. I think so. I think doing this exercise means, yes, we include those with player options. And if not, maybe even drop it down. I don't know if I'd drop it down to 7 protections. I think that might be a little much.
I think I would.
Really?
Yeah. So like you would add Jordan Walsh, probably, Sadiq Bey, JT Thor, one of the Knicks guys. The Knicks would get hit with this.
Yeah.
You'd add like Christian Koloko, Ryan Rollins, Caleb Houston, Drew Smith, AJ Green, Isaiah Jackson, Isaiah Livers. The Pistons would actually weirdly get hit with this as well.
Yeah, they would.
The Cavs would potentially get hit with this with Okoro. But like, even at 7, you're not like the Mavs would get hit because they'd have to give up probably Jaden Hardy, I would think.
On my first pick.
Or Maxi, maybe. Maxi Kleba. The Rockets would definitely get hit. Because they'd have to give up like something of value. Like that would actually be the one, like whoever it'd be for Houston would be the number 1 overall pick.
Probably. If not Oklahoma City, because they're butting up against it too.
Oklahoma City would just give up Jalen Williams at that point. The Pelicans would probably unprotect Larry Nance. Yeah, I mean, the teams aren't that. I think they would do 7, I think is where I'm at. The Warriors would give up Chris Paul's contract as of right now. I think they would do 7.
Okay.
In this, looking through it.
I can understand that. And you are left with about 27, 28 million going into free agency?
I'm left with something like that. Yeah. I'm left with 27 million in free agency where I'm trying to find a center. And I think that I can probably do that. Looking at the free agents available in 2024 at the center position, I can try and overpay for Onyeka in restricted free agency. I can try and sign Zach Collins, who's an unrestricted free agent. That'd probably be what I'd try and do, to be honest.
Okay.
Valanciunas is available. Nick Claxton is available. The center position is like the one where I feel like I can probably slightly overpay just a little bit and get like a pretty solid option there. It was knowing that I felt like I could get a center in free agency was one of my strategies going into this.
Yeah, I'd thought about that as well. That's the easiest position to replace. I really like and would target Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks. That'd be a guy who I would definitely want to slide into this rotation, give him 2 years, a bunch of money, and see if he can recreate some of the high post flashes of passing that he had with the Clippers.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a really, really smart plan and a really good idea. I think I would go more vet. I think Collins is the one I would target. I think I would want Zach Collins. And then other free agents that I would target, I'm assuming it'd cost 14, 15 to get Collins. And I'd probably try and look for another just mid-tier solid, free agent that I felt like could be a creator-ish. I probably need one more creator, I would say. So I'd probably want a creator.
So how far away from the max spots are we here to offer in free agency with our cap?
Pretty far.
We're pretty far.
pretty far.
So because I am still struggling to mentally adjust to what players are worth coming into next summer and how much money they're going to command on that free agent market.
Yeah. So like, what names are you looking at?
Well, I don't think I would have success because he's a restricted free agent, but like I am obsessed with Devin Vassell, and like I would do anything to try to get Devin Vassell here.
Yeah.
I don't think I have enough money for him, and I think San Antonio would probably match close to anything. I see a world where I would go after a guy like Gary Trent Jr. and try to add a little bit more shooting to my roster and just have him as a spot starter and think I can snag him away for a year or two. I look at the ability to maybe slide Kevin Porter to the 2, and I wouldn't mind going after Monte Morris and seeing if I can get him away from Detroit.
Yep. I think that's a really smart kind of guy to go after. I think I probably need a little bit more juice off the bounce than Monte. I might like even look at someone like Cole Anthony in restricted free agency, like hoping to, catch a flyer. The guy I would really chase is Markelle. I would probably, to be honest, I'd probably offer all of my remaining cap space for Markelle. Like maybe not all of it. I'd probably offer 25 for Markelle and go Markelle, Colin Sexton, and I'd feel pretty good about where I'm at.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, I'd like Markelle, Kevin Porter, Nesmith, one draft pick of the front court that I'm going to take in 2024, and one of Walker and Garuba. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, and then obviously we would be placed into the lottery. We would have each a 14% chance to get the number 1 overall pick. We both end up around like 6, is the worst case. 6 or 7 is our worst case. Yeah. So we'd be looking at something like Modest Bazelis, who else?
Justin Edwards,
Ethan
Almanza, Ron Holland.
Yep.
Donovan Klingen, potentially from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of
guys in that ballpark.
Which I know you talked about free agency being able to find a center out there. I tried to keep like my bigger 4s or my 5s somewhat open and not kind of fill that space on the roster, thinking that that's where the 24 draft is going to be a little bit stronger with a little bit more of those like bigger wings or even potential bigs in that range. Yeah.
This was hard. I would say this was a more difficult exercise than what I thought it would be, Adam.
Yeah, it was. And I'm glad we did it because it now gives us some areas to maybe push back with the league on and suggest that they take some of these when they're actually making the rules in hopefully another couple of years when we get the flush and the Supersonics actually in the NBA.
I wouldn't be surprised if they said both player options and 7 players protected. Okay. I think is where I'm at on it, because they will want these teams to be like somewhat successful early on. Like, no, like you're not going to have a situation like the like the Golden Knights in Las Vegas where they just freaking want to Stanley Cup, right? Like that's not going to happen in the NBA. Like there are just too many great players around the league and you're just not going to have access to those guys. And one player is so much more valuable than everything else in the NBA. But I think they will want them to not be disastrous like the Hornets were and the Bobcats were early on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think that they've probably learned from some of that. And if they do, that's a good thing.
If you even go down to protecting 6, I wonder.
Oof, I think the current owners would be
I think they'd be furious about that because that's like the Celtics giving up Jordan Walsh and Al Horford probably, or Jordan Walsh and probably Brogdon.
They
tried to trade Brogdon.
You're blowing up too many potential title teams.
But what I think that would do in that scenario is it would open up more of those trade discussions that we were talking about. Like, okay, Boston, we will take Sam Hauser, but you have to give us your first in order to keep Malcolm Brogdon.
Ooh, it's a leverage game.
Ooh. Yeah. I think it would be, and plus you're doing a 2-team draft instead of a 1-team draft as well.
Yeah.
I think there's even a chance they would go down to 6. Maybe that's what we'll do next year. Maybe we'll do something like this in a year's time. Okay. And we'll do, last year we did 8. This year we're going to do 6 and show what the difference is in terms of teams.
Okay.
And how difficult it would be for that. Because like the Hawks, for instance, would have to unprotect Bogdan and like Sadiq Bey.
Yeah.
Right. And Cleveland would have to unprotect like Okoro and LeVert.
Yeah. Well, and as you get down closer to 6, like the decisions you have to make between protecting a guy who's going to be a restricted free agent and somebody who's on the books becomes really tricky, because what happens if that restricted free agent like just leaves, or you don't want to match it or can't match it somewhere else?
Right.
That's a challenge.
And then like if you're the Thunder and you have to decide on, okay, do we want to keep Lou Dort and Ousmane Dieng, or do we want to give up one of these many firsts that we have? It'd probably be really valuable for that other team, right? So I think that there's a pretty good shot they would go down even to like, I think there's a case to go down to 6 in this for sure. Protecting 6 players.
Wow.
To give these teams a shot to like be relatively successful.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I remember from the Bobcats iteration of this 20 years ago and doing some research is they were able to claim a bunch of guys, and I think they went up to 15 or even 16. And there was an understanding that not all of them were going to be on the roster. In fact, I think only maybe half of them ended up making it to the opening night roster. So
totally.
There might be, it'll probably look a little bit different in reality, just in terms of, not keeping everybody on the books and the space in that regard. Like, I know I took a couple contracts that there was the Shake Milton one, that's just, non-guaranteed. Like I'm at 33 million right now. I can get up to 38 if I need to.
Yep.
So,
well, and also they took 19 players, remember?
Yeah. Yep.
Like, you and I took players that we think are valuable and like interesting in some respect. And as well, like there were some trades here. Like the Bobcats acquired the second pick in 2004 for the 4th and 33rd picks, because they also agreed to select Peja Drobniak. And then the Bobcats agreed to select Jahidi White for the Suns for a 1st-round pick, basically.
Yep.
Right. So I think they would go pretty. I think the league would want more of those than what actually happened.
Okay.
If you look like at the Las Vegas Golden Knights expansion draft, right?
They got Fleury, which I know was huge.
Yes, they did. And it was incredibly disappointing to some of us who happen to be wearing Penguins hats, right?
To some Penguins fans.
Yeah. So like the Sabres traded their 6th-round pick for William Carrier. The Panthers traded Riley Smith so that Vegas would take John Marchessault. And John Marchessault has like since become, absolute like unequivocal first line winger for them, and like it was kind of a mistake for Florida, although Florida has been okay in the end. And the Penguins in that Fleury deal, because the Penguins were up against the cap, they made the Knights said we'll take a 2nd rounder and take Fleury, basically.
Yeah.
So the Penguins gave up a 2nd to get Fleury, off their books.
Yeah.
So I think the league would want as many of those options as possible at the end of the day.
Yeah. Which, again, when you're only operating with, in this case, $90 million of cap space, like you probably only got 2 big contracts you can take in something like this, which is kind of what we ran into quickly.
I'd be interested to see if they go from 2/3 of the cap up to like 75 or 80% of the cap as well. I don't think they would go full cap necessarily, but I do wonder if they would go a little bit higher.
Yeah, that's also a fair point for flexibility. It's the reason I say it's interesting to do that is because the difference in minimum contracts and even like mid-level contracts, higher contracts, is drastically more now than what it was. Like a mid-level then was probably like 6 or 7 million. It's now 13 million in 2024. Right. So, and I'm thinking like when this happens, it's probably going to coincide with TV deals and TV money coming in, because that's when NBA owners, the 30 current teams, are going to be more willing to take a smaller slice of the pie, is when they know that the pie is growing a lot more. So,
well, and I feel like I've seen reporting too that the league is going to do the TV deals before they do expansion.
Yes.
So,
yeah. But like it makes total sense. So once that kicks in, I think like you're saying here, those numbers are going to become even more inflated, where when you cut it at a lower percentage, that it makes it a real disadvantage to be Seattle or Las Vegas here.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is absolutely right. Okay, Adam, this is what we got. This was fun. I'm glad we did this.
It was fun. Thank you for indulging this here. I don't know whether it was your idea or mine that came up with this, but we kind of did it and ran with it in the last week, and put together some teams.
We'll just shout out Alex Spears.
We'll
say it was Alex's idea.
Yes, Alex, the absolute best, by the way. Absolute best.
Alex is the best. This is what we've got. Come yell at me and Adam. Tell us which team you think did better, which owner you think did better or worse than the other, and tell Adam why it was him.
And I will throw a poll and our rosters up on my Twitter page if you'd like to vote in that. And
love it.
And if you vote for Sam, you'll be blocked.
There it is. I love it. Okay. Go to Adam's YouTube channel. Go to all of the many places that Adam publishes work over on his Substack and everything. Please give me more of the things that you're doing right now, Adam.
Yeah. Again, my Twitter handle, theboxin1_, YouTube, Adam Spinella, or Substack, theboxin1.substack.com. I've got a piece coming out this week on a couple under the radar sophomore breakout candidates before really getting into some deep dives on a couple guys I'm really expecting to be first round picks in this upcoming year. I just did a huge piece on Cooper Flagg, both in video form and in written, which are very timely considering his reclassification announcement late last week. And beyond that, I'm just trying to enjoy the remaining days of summer before I go back to school and have to be dressing like this every day.
That is true. And you don't get to do it while drafting players either, which is disappointing for you, I am sure. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We will be back later this week, probably a little bit later in the week, because we did 2 podcasts today. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.